Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. When you have one of your longtime friends and colleagues in the studio with us, it just amplifies the day. And that is the case today. Steve Bernstein, Executive Vice President and San Diego Regional Manager for the Banc of California. If the name is familiar, he is a longtime community leader, and we're very grateful that he is in the studio. Steve, good seeing you, man.
Great seeing you. It's amazing to be here.
Well, it's terrific, and I appreciate it. You got so much great content to share, and thank you for all the great things you have done in our community for many, many, many moons here, and now at Banc of California. How long have you been there?
I joined in May, so only a short time, but been connected to the bank for a while.
Yeah, exactly. And how long have you been in San Diego?
Since 94, so serving San Diego for well over 3 decades.
Where were you before?
I grew up in Ventura County.
Okay.
So Simi Valley, actually. And then moved here in 94 after the Northridge earthquake.
Yeah, listen, I've got relatives in the valley, Sherman Oaks and Van Nuys, and not too far from that. Were you in the earthquake? I mean,
No, I was actually drafted by St. Louis Cardinals, and I was going to be heading out to rookie ball. My brother was at San Diego State playing for Jim Dietz as a catcher.
Of course.
And so I came to visit him, and the earthquake actually, that happened. I was actually in a car accident. So my career ended in a car accident.
Because of the earthquake?
No, right before. And then the earthquake happened. So instead of moving back to Ventura County and Northridge area, I stayed in San Diego with my brother, and I ended up being here, and I've never left.
Well, we're glad you're here. What's the mission of the bank?
The mission is to be the most trusted community bank in every region we serve. And that's exactly why I'm here, is to bring something special back to the San Diego region.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. You've obviously had an affinity for banking, to say the least. I know that. Was that were you a finance major in college?
No, actually, I was a political science psychology major.
Really? And what school?
San Diego State.
Aztec.
That's right, Aztec for life.
And Aztec dad and an Aztec student. That's but I was there when there was running water, was just a new thing when I first got there. When did you graduate?
I graduated in 2004 with my degree. I went there 94 through 98.
Nice.
And then went back and finished. And so, like I said, I've been in San Diego. I did follow my degree. I was part of the team that brought in Petco Park. And then after that, I was working really long hours and not making a lot of money and not knowing where I was going. So I went on a bunch of job interviews, and I didn't really have financial literacy. So that's what really brought me into the banking sector. Was I figured it'd be like a small little paid internship. I'd get the knowledge, and then I'd move to go do something else. And I found purpose.
Now, did you work with the Padres bringing Petco Park in?
I sure did.
It was Steve Violetta?
Yeah.
And Jim Ballwig and Marty Gorsuch. We were big sponsors at the time.
So I was on Byron Ware's team at the time.
Okay, sure.
And so we spent a lot of time with Larry Lucchino, John Moores, Bud Selig. I mean, it was an incredible experience.
Yeah. Was Michael D there yet?
No.
Michael hadn't come yet. Yeah. And so forth. I'm sure we crossed paths back then as well.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about, the banking industry as a whole. You folks, just by the nature of what you do, of course, have to be engaged in the community, obviously from a business standpoint and a community standpoint. Talk about that.
It's we're only as good as the communities we serve, right? And so that's where the real strength comes from. And when you look at the opportunity in the current environment, we play a very important and significant role for the San Diego region. And you've got a lot of things going on. You've got a transactional type of environment, and instead of relationship driven, you've got a lot of policy changes. You've got trade. You've got American manufacturing coming back. And you've got this new group of upcoming leaders that really want this entrepreneurial type of approach and and be a part of growing something. That's where we really come in, is being a true banker, a cash flow banker, someone that works with you from idea to concept to market. We can, wherever you're at in your business cycle, we can help you there. And it's relationship driven. We're not selling you a loan. We're not selling you products. We're learning about your business, learning about your management team, and then providing you the right solutions to help you today, but also, most importantly, connecting you to your strategy and where you're headed for the next several years.
Yeah, you just hit on something that it took our industry, journalism. I worked for the newspaper for 1 billion years, running community and public relations. It took us a little bit of a while, and I didn't mean this in any disrespect to my colleagues and all that business, but I usually would open up the conversation that the Union Tribune, not just the Union Tribune, newspapers in general back in the day, didn't hold a franchise on being arrogant, but we were up there because, listen, at the time, sometimes we were the only play in town. Until then, we had these little things come up that took money away from us, from the classifieds and all that, and I guess we should have had better relationships with folks. Now, listen, we have some wonderful salespeople at the UT and all that aspect, but we really shifted and got very serious to something that obviously it's in your wheelhouse, and that's relationship, in marketing. Before I say anything, this is what we had to do. What are you interested in, client? We're not going to sell you an advertising campaign that we figure out what the heck you guys are interested in. That sounds so basic, but it wasn't done before.
It's been missing for probably about 15, 20 years in the industry. It became a very commoditized type of business and very transactional.
Right.
I actually just posted something the other day about lenders versus bankers, and there's a big difference. And the reality is, in today's market, where we're headed and all the inflection points happening, you need a real banker. You need someone that understands you, your full business, and then where you're headed. And most people, they're using some type of a loan transaction as more of patching or needing the immediate need, but they're not tying the structure to where they're headed. And so you need to have a banker a part of your relationship. And just as important as somebody, you talk to a business owner today and they'll say, you'll say, who's the most important people that help you make a decision? And it's your CPA. Usually that's the number one. Well, the gap is, if you don't have a banker and a CPA working with the business owner, you could have a great tax strategy, but it's not aligned with your growth strategy. And then all of a sudden, the bank can't really help you the way you would need. So having that real team around you is critical. And that's what we also bring from the bank. We bring the team to you. We surround the bank and our team, and that becomes your team. And that's how we work together from day one till, the journey ends or continues, right?
Yeah, and in this day and age, and when you throw in everything in between, and we'll throw artificial intelligence in there, my goodness, that is just itself going to be something that's going to be interesting to see how different businesses are going to navigate that. We know there's a positive with artificial intelligence, like there was with a lot of new technology, and there's some things you need to be, aware of. We're chatting with Steve Bernstein. He is the Executive Vice President and San Diego Regional Manager for the Banc of California, a longtime community leader. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're in our 19th year. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, 6 decades of doing great things for people in San Diego County, whether it's food insecurity, whether it's literacy, or everything in between on this. What I love about, and your background is just so perfect for this. So you did this in your previous banking career and all this. You understand nonprofits. You get it. You know what it takes to run it, whether it's a big nonprofit or whether it's a small one. And of course, you did a great job chairing the San Diego Food Bank board. And you're working with a lot of my close friends over there. Not an easy deal. And you were there during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
And you guys just pulled rabbits out of hats and worked very hard. I was always impressed with that board. Bob Bollinger and you and some other rapscallions really did a wonderful job on that. But it positions you, Steve Bernstein, in a very unique way because of that background. Talk about how important it is to understand the nonprofit world.
To be honest with you, it's everything. I mean, you think about our community, and there's just so much need. And in the nonprofit space, sometimes we create jobs, or we have this purpose and mission. And there's this opportunity, and especially in San Diego, to really leverage each other and really think about that end user. So for me, when you think about a nonprofit business, sometimes you have to use the mentality of, I'm going to run it as a for-profit under the nonprofit rules. So you're thinking about ways that you can generate more revenue, ways that you can do the outreach. And in the current community, we have a golden opportunity right now. And then the other side of it is, it just shows you how many thoughtful and caring leaders we have in this community that are like-minded, that really want to make a difference, whether it's, feeding people or it's young leaders. There's just a tremendous amount of interest and engagement. And so I'm excited. I'm excited where we're headed. I'm excited for the role that we play at Banc of California. We work with over 350 nonprofits. We have a great foundation and a great commitment to the community. So being able to have that type of a platform to bring to San Diego and really start connecting the dots, there's no doubt we're going to not only impact the nonprofit space, but we're really going to impact this community.
Yeah, but I really appreciate, because you understand how this works. And you also know that people who don't understand nonprofits think, hey, you're a nonprofit. You don't need to make money. You don't need to pay anybody money. What, you don't think I need to turn lights on? It always would crack me up about that aspect of it. And I said, no, you're absolutely wrong on this. And I've been involved with a lot of nonprofits, as you know, Steve. Yep. And of course, Junior Achievement, which I'm honored to still be on the board, Classroom of the Future Foundation. It was near and dear to my heart. I've been involved with that group since '97. And what amazes me is that, and you get this, is that you don't really need money to operate. You need money to do stuff. How are we going to do stuff if we don't have money to operate? Talk about that.
Well, that's where you have to really talk about the business model, the focus, and where they're headed, and then strategically think differently. And for years at the food bank, we not only are feeding people, but we were looking for other community partners to bring along with us and to really bring full service. And you think of the end user, the client that you need, right? And the point of entry in nonprofit space is really hard to get to that client. And so we had leadership and a collective group that really said, hey, if we're going to feed someone, they have other needs as well. Let's make sure that we bring the other organizations to help that client or help that person. And I think that's where we have some opportunity in the marketplace. But when you look at the business model of every nonprofit, there's opportunities to connect differently. So as you have a mission, you have to kind of expand that mission and try to collectively identify ways that you can continue to grow and help. And I'll give you an example. It's like at the food bank years ago, as we were feeding people, we had food waste. Well, we really focused on what do we do with that? And we invested and raised money for a compost machine. And we started having a whole composting area. Well, that not only generated revenue, but it also reached other parts of our community and created more value. And I think that's the opportunity that we have in the nonprofit space. And so when I'm sitting with a nonprofit, we're talking about not only their core business, but also and connecting that to their 3 to 5 year strategy, and then thinking about the dynamics in the economy and the market, and then ultimately, what else opportunities do we have to serve? And if you're focused through that lens, you're going to create probably another couple of revenue streams and which drives impact.
Yeah, one of the examples I love to use, and maybe it's a stupid example, but I'm going to say it anyway. So as Steve knows, I'm not afraid to say stupid stuff on this. So many of these opportunities in front of your face, but it's too close to your face, so you don't see it. The example I used is what the wheel was invented in 3000 BC, probably suitcases in the 2nd century, and we didn't put the wheel on the suitcase till 1970. Really? Are you kidding me? For God's sake. And it's really in front of you. And to your point, having that relationship with the banker And, understanding of you take a look at this, because right next door to you, Joe Blow can use those services. When we come back from break, Steve, let's talk more about that. I want to talk about banking with a purpose, what that really means in that area. And then, what our listeners can do to support what you folks do, Banc of California, whether it's partnering with you folks, whether it's volunteering, doing anything in between. When we return with Steve Bernstein, longtime community leaders, executive vice president, and San Diego Regional Manager for the Banc of California. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. Listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. We will be right back after this short break.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast, now in our 19th year, brought to you by the fine folks at Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades, they're doing great things for San Diego. Just so pleased to have my longtime friend and colleague in the house with us today, Steve Bernstein, Executive Vice President and San Diego Regional Manager for Banc of California. Always good to see you, Steve. You always have such great content. What is banking with a purpose?
Well, honestly, it's really focused on the client. And I know that sounds crazy. It sounds like that's so simple, focus on the client, but it truly means focus on the client. And in this space, like I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of transactional type of lenders and people that really are after selling something. And in the financial industry, nobody needs to be sold a financial product. The product is supposed to serve the need, the immediate need, or the long-term need, depending, and you have to align it. So banking with a purpose is all about being very intentional with what we do and how we do it and how we show up. And so we have the platform, whether it's a startup, whether it's a small business, middle market business, venture banking, we have the expertise on the platform to help and to serve. And so wherever we start with a client, we don't leave. There's not a transaction. The day one is day one, and then we move through the journey of their relationship. And we have a lot of examples where we've taken an idea and a concept out of a garage and brought them all the way through sale. And so there's just great examples. So when you think about banking with a purpose, it's reintroducing banking the way it's supposed to be, bringing in bankers that are part of your relationship, understanding your relationship, but most importantly, reconnecting all of these businesses to the community. So I know we were talking earlier about nonprofits. That's a really great example of how they do a lot of outreach to the community. Well, that's our opportunity in the business space as well. So we have a lot of community leaders, a lot of small business owners, and there's a tremendous way to connect the dots, help people lift opposed to compete. And that's where we're really focused, is not only bringing value to the client, but taking it to that next level. And, you build the relationship with the client, but I've got 30 plus years in this community. I have a lot of friends just like with just you and I, right?
Right.
And so it's really taking it to that next level for every business and getting them even more connected differently to the community. And that gives lift, that gives growth. And so really, really excited. But it's about being intentional and purposeful with every client and tying it to their need. because we have the platform, and this is a really important factor. We, as a local regional bank, we have the platform to bring it to the client. A lot of other competitors in the space, it's more mass market. And a lot of times you have to fit the client into the box. And so we can bring the bank around the client. And that, to me, is such a huge differentiator. But that's why I'm so proud to be a part of Banc of California, because we can bring that to the community that I love and have been a part of for so long, and I'll call it my home for the rest of my life.
Well, I'm glad you're going to do that as well. We need folks like you in this, because understand, how the relationships work in this, and it's all about relationships, and we all know that. And San Diego, as many of us have said, is the smallest big city in the history of humankind. There's no other place like this. Hard to believe. When we tell people it's the 8th largest city in the country, they go, "What are you talking about? 26th largest market, but the 8th largest city," and we're connected in this aspect of it. And we tend to be, if Steve Bernstein, and someone says, "Listen, Drew Schlosberg will probably get the phone slammed down on you," but but somebody else. But I think it's real critical on them. That's how all this work goes on. Talk about. I know you're really proud of this, of how you guys stepped up with the wildfires.
Amazing, and honestly, that's the type of bank and character and leadership we have at Banc of California. And it was a very easy decision for our company. But when the wildfires happened, we actually have donated over $1 million.
Wow. And
to LA small businesses to rebuild, to grow, to start, bringing back that vibrance back to the city. So, that's just one of many examples that the leadership in the bank really stand for. And that's the commitment to the community. We truly want to be that trusted community bank that everyone, can feel a part of and connected. And so whether you're working with us direct or there's opportunities to partner in the community, the goal is to make our community stronger and more thriving. And we play a big role in that, and others do too. And together, we'll work together, right?
Yeah, and those, wildfires earlier this year were very personal to me. I went to school in Pacific Palisades High School, and we all know what happened at Palisades. I actually went and visited that area recently, and it's hard to believe. But thank you for what you folks do in stepping up in that aspect. What are some of the biggest challenges you see moving forward with your clients, with nonprofits, or just in general?
I think we're kind of in an inflection point right now. There's a lot of things happening, right? So you've got, if you look at the dynamics of even the market or just the industry and businesses, we've got a large group of businesses that have been probably in business 30, 40, 50 years, and they're looking for an exit strategy, and they need help. They need ideas. They need connections. Then you've got this group of up-and-coming young leaders that maybe don't want the traditional method of the 4-year college or something, and they have this entrepreneurial spirit. And then you've got a lot of policy changes and things happening. So you've got American manufacturing and trade coming back. And so there's just a lot of opportunities there to really serve the market. The gap is sometimes knowledge transfer. So you have a lot of young kids, young adults wanting to start a business. Well, they need advice, they need structure, because we know, I think the number is like 80+% of small businesses close within the first year or two. So the reason they close is not their idea. It's not necessarily the business itself. It's the structure, and it's also how they're trying to fund it and move to each level. That's where we can come in and give great advice and help grow. That's one gap. Then the other side of it is I would say the last 15 years, it's been a very commodity-driven business. You hear a lot about transactional real estate, and that's what has tied into the banking sector. That's a gap. And so business owners in today's environment that are wanting to grow, want to stabilize, they need help. And that help comes through the advice of people that are experts in the industry. Previously, when you're looking at the transactional nature, it's pretty easy to decide if you're buying a piece of real estate. It's kind of like buying a home. There's a lot of people, they relate to it. They understand it. They think it's simple. right? It's not, but they do think it's simple. And it really pushed into this commodity driven where it was by rate and fee. And that can get you to different places and get you in trouble, but it can also build your wealth. That doesn't focus on the core of the business and the operations of the business. And really, as a cash flow banker, that's who I am, that's what I've always been, you have to fully understand the operating side of the business to understand what the lending products, what the structure needs to be, what size lending, what products they need. And so a lot of times there's a lot of mismatches with a short-term need with a long-term solution or vice versa. And so that's where we're bringing back that real advice-driven consultant. And that's the gap. It's the gap. I talk to people every day, multiple business owners. As we're talking, we're not necessarily talking about just revenues. We're not talking about just their sales. We're talking about efficiencies. And you mentioned it earlier, Drew, about AI. If you're not implementing AI right now, or you're not looking at ways to implement AI, especially from an efficiency, maybe your back shop, maybe your accounting group, those are the things that might and most likely are going to hurt you in the long run because you're going to be paying expense in an area you could have reinvested. So just small things like that. But like I said, it's more on the efficiency play. It's more on understanding and controlling cash flow. That's, to me, the biggest opportunity that we have in the current market condition.
One of the things, you're spot on, we're chatting with Steve Bernstein, Executive Vice President and San Diego Regional Manager for the Banc of California. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. I know you and I when we were chatting up at the National University's Skybox, we were talking about education. That's very much a passion for me, and it is for you, too. One of the organizations I mentioned earlier that I've been involved with pretty much since its inception is the Classroom of the Future Foundation, 1997, and we've had relationships with the Midway and some of the bigger companies for many, many, many moons. We sort of shifted our mission to focus on college and career pathways, something that I've always been passionate about, and entrepreneurial. I'm going to invite you to our 5th annual Soup Tank event. It is a takeoff on Shark Tank. We invite the superintendents to do a 3-minute pitch to business leaders, and we have 9 superintendents that participate in this, and we do it at USD School of Leadership and Ed Sciences. It's a pretty fun thing to do and see these superintendents get out there and here's what we need. They do a 3, and then there's a reception afterwards. I hope you're available. It's on October the 23rd at USD. I'll send you some information on it, but it's running into your wheelhouse as well.
That's exactly our wheelhouse, and I will absolutely be there. And thanks for the invite. And honestly, that's the type of opportunity we have. And we're viewed, so entrepreneurship is a core competency internally and externally of our company. And when you think of entrepreneurship, the 2 things they need is education, which leads to the empowerment. And that's really the angle and the opportunity that we have in this marketplace. And those are the types of clients and potential clients that need exactly what we want to deliver.
Yeah, that's good. Well, we hope you can make it. I'm going to send you some info. Hopefully, we'll get it to you today, but definitely this weekend. And I think you'd enjoy the event. It's quite fun to see these superintendents, pitch on this stuff. What else can we do to support you? What can our listeners do to support the great work you're doing?
I think it's really moving forward together, right? I think we all have an opportunity to serve in the community, and Banc of California plays a significant role, and so do other companies. We're here at the Mission Federal Studios, and they play a significant role too. And together, I know we're going to bring something special to San Diego. And I just the one thing that I'll share is we've been around since 41, but one of the unique things that I love about Banc of California is our charter started in Chula Vista. So it was under the Roar Credit Union back in the day.
Sure.
So we have a lot of deep roots into the community. And I'm excited because we're also not Bank, B-A-N-K. We're Bank, B-A-N-C. And that C stands for commitment. And that commitment's to every one of our clients and our community. And so that's what I would tell you is we're really laser focused and very intentional in how we're going to serve the community and how we're going to serve our business owners. So that to me is the most exciting thing to bring to San Diego.
Well, this won't be the last time, probably to your detriment, that you'll be on my show, but would love to have you, come back on after the first of the year and, and maybe chat about some of the folks you're working with, some of the groups that you're, entrepreneurial kids and entrepreneurial businesses, or just something to that aspect of it is definitely 1 + 1 = 8 and better in this day and age and stuff. Steve Bernstein, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you for taking some time out of your warp speed schedule to share some great content. No surprise that you were going to do that. And I'm going to look forward to your return appearance.
Thank you so much for having me. And I really appreciate not only connecting today, but as we're building for the future.
We're going to look forward to that. Steve Bernstein is Executive Vice President and San Diego Regional Manager for the Banc of California. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast in our 19th year, brought to you by the fine folks of Mission Fed Credit Union. And to our listeners, we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.